That music was way louder than I think we are.
It was way loud, yeah.
I had my balance all set to like hour level, and then that music came in, and it was like ba 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 ba. How
I
was
think
it
everyone's
to
a
you
little
all
used to
watching?
it being a little hot.
What's that?
I think everyone is a little used to the intro. This
Yeah.
intro song being a little hot.
Yeah.
It was. It
Oh,
seemed
yeah,
like it was
okay,
louder
jump
than
scare.
usual. I don't know why. That was odd. Yeah. So.
You see, this is why I always have, whenever I do any podcasting on this computer, I always have my volume at like 65% or something. So like I can kind of hear you guys. I don't know like, how loud you guys really are, or you really should be. But just to protect my own ears. Like I can hear you guys, I can understand you. That's all that matters to me.
That's all that matters. Okay, so Tudo's saying Ron is super low.
All right, I'm gonna adjust that.
And then I realized I have to get out of this corner and go get something and come back
Right,
before we start.
I've adjusted mine to be super low. I'm going to move the mic up a little closer. So, Tudo, let me know if I'm better or
Get
not.
a little closer.
Clinton's always
Don't
pretty good
be
for our
shy.
audio levels. Also, hey, everybody.
Okay, I'm going to step away.
Before you step away, Jason, we are live on Patreon also.
Oh,
For the
we
first
are?
time ever. Yeah.
Oh,
Really?
look at that.
Yes, for the first time ever, this live stream is happening on YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon.
And X.
Yeah, and on
technically.
Mishaal's X account, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But Patreon recently added the ability for us to send this live stream over there,
right.
which is pretty cool. If you watch on YouTube or Twitch, you don't need to change anything. But for our folks who like to hang out on Patreon who want to, you can watch there.
It's
So there
easy
you go.
for us to set it up and just have it go.
And it is a test, and
Watch it
so
go.
we're seeing how it will be. So if there's any issues, let me know. I'm keeping an eye on the chat over there, and they're telling me that I am still low, so I am adjusting. YouTube, if you can let me know if I am still low, I would appreciate that. But my kids messed with my little audio box level thing, and so
What does this do? What does this do?
exactly. Yeah.
What does this do? What
Not
does
even
this
that.
do?
It just the hands get all over everything, and so. Yeah. All right, Jason, go do what you got to do. So.
All right, I'll be right back.
So, all right, there you go. But yeah, so there you go. Clinton says better now. Mars Hall says sounds good now. To be honest, Joe in Patreon, do I sound better to you? I'll wait for him to chime in, but yes, better now. Okay, great. I got 3 better nows. If I just get somebody in Twitch to tell me it's better, then I will. That will be the triple play, the trifecta, as it were. Okay, thank you, Willie.
got one
Says it's better. All right, good. I got all 3. I sound better in all 3 platforms. So you take that, Mishaal. So Joe says sound much better. So woohoo.
Ron, is your chair really squeaky, or did
It
I just
is.
miss here? Okay.
I need to oil my chair, but I haven't. Yeah. So
Considering we can hear, that's really squeaky.
yeah, I know.
Really, really squeaky.
I know. I have one of those autonomous chairs.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it is squeaky. So, I wish Patreon had like a pop-out chat option. I should let them know that.
Yeah,
really-
the one disadvantage of streaming to X from StreamYard is that whenever I do that, like the chat box goes gray for me, and I can't type anything. Like I can still see the combined YouTube and Twitch chat, but I can't actually
You
submit
can't
anything
interact
to
with
YouTube.
it. Yeah.
I'd have to open a separate window for YouTube, a separate pop-up window for Twitch, and now a separate window for X, and a separate window for Patreon. Like,
Yep.
I just don't have all. I'm using like a portable monitor setup here, kind of like a janky setup. I don't have the screen real estate for all of that at the same time.
Yeah.
But I am seeing all the comments at least.
Nothing like I like what I would like to do is I would like to actually like close the video in Patreon because I could see the video in StreamYard and just see the chat. Like Twitch has a pop out and YouTube has a pop out. For those behind the scenes, we use StreamYard and we can see the Twitch and YouTube chat in StreamYard, which is great, but they haven't integrated Patreon yet because it's so new. What's really fascinating is that for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, I've been on Patreon in some way, shape, or form, whether it's been through iFanboy or now through Android Faithful, and I've just been a user of Patreon and had little to no support whatsoever. And now, thanks to Android Faithful, we've crossed over into the world of like creator, and now we have like a contact at Patreon that we can talk to and ask for things and like get whatever. And so it's very interesting that now I can tell someone like, oh, I want a pop-out chat. And they will tell me that we'll tell our product managers and whatever, but it's just weird I'm used to not having anyone I can talk to. So
Although at our
you reached
scale,
out to them?
not yet, but I'm going to. I'm saying I need a
okay.
pop out chat. So yeah.
Got it.
Ron, I feel like at our level on Patreon, like asking them to implement a feature is the same thing as like telling your server at a restaurant, "Oh, next time make the food this way."
Yeah, sure. Good point. But don't underestimate us. We're a big deal somewhere.
That's horrible.
I gotta figure out. It's all the screen real estate now. It's just like, how do I maneuver all this? There we go. That's looking good. All right, cool. I like it. So yeah, it's good to be back. I missed you guys last week.
Good to
Although
have
I
you
will
back, man.
admit, it was Tuesday, and I did not think I should be somewhere else because I didn't know where I was. So I had no. I was in a place where you forget what day it is, so I didn't even know it was Tuesday, so I didn't miss the show.
When you're in a place where you forget what day.
Were you in like Vegas or something?
No, I was in
Yeah.
Disney World.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Well, it's like Vegas for kids.
I think it was Sunday afternoon when I turned to my sister. I'm like, I don't know what day it is, and she's like, yeah. She's like,
Vegas for kids. How long were you there?
Technically got in Saturday night at like 7 p.m. so that doesn't count, and then we left Thursday at like 8 a.m. so that doesn't count. So
Wow.
so
though.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so four full days. So
How many times have you been to Disney World? Because it sounds like you go there a lot.
Yeah, it's
I have, and I mean in the last 10 to 15 years there have been a lot of trips, but yeah.
I don't recall the last time I've been to Disney World. I've been to Disneyland, I think, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've been to Disney World. I think maybe once as a kid. Maybe I was too young to remember. But it's been a long time.
Well, I mean, it helps between my sister has the timeshare vacation club thing, so it's easy to get hotel rooms, and then working for Disney made it very easy to do that for many years, right? So it was kind of like, what do you want to do? Okay, I guess we can go to Disney. So yeah. So Willie, you need to go. You should go. It's an experience. It's fun. So anyway,
all right. I'm almost there, you guys. Sorry, I
it's all right.
had some internet-y things.
No worries.
Nutty internet-y things. Okay. All right. I think I've loaded up things. Looking good.
Cool.
But it says I'm not signed in. Now I am. Okay. Well then, should we do a thing?
I think we should do a thing. I will do the ads and I will do the intros.
Oh yes, we've got the ads. Okay, so let me make sure. I'm not going to do the thing I did last week.
Well, yeah, what happened? I didn't even watch any. I didn't watch it last week.
Well,
did
okay. So this is lame, Ron, and
Yeah.
you can sympathize, I'm sure. On the left side of the StreamYard interface is the scenes panel.
Yeah.
And I set up a scene that included me in it because it needed to hear my audio. But anytime I added anybody to that scene, when you took it, it immediately took any people off the stage.
Yeah, that
So I
happened.
did
That
an-
happened 2 weeks ago when we tried to do it.
I did an entire ad read and then switched back. And thank you for Square. We didn't hear you. Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So then I had to do the whole thing again, which StreamYard, come on. Still upset that they roll out a feature like that and it doesn't have do the basics.
The things that you
Properly.
wanted to do. Yeah.
You know, I set it up right. It should work.
Oh, wah wah.
Wag my finger at you.
Wah wah.
So anyways. Okay. Okay.
All right.
So let's see here. So I made this thingy thing.
Cool. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
And actually, we can even take that off. And then for the mid-show read, it'll just be a lower third.
Oh, that's great. That's much better. I made a banner just, and that's much better than that. How did you do that? Well, we'll talk later. That's fine. Awesome.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Photoshop.
Photoshop's amazing.
Isn't it amazing?
So
it does things. Okay, so I don't need the actual site for the top. Okay, everybody, we've done a lot of setup.
Yep.
Let's go.
Let's do a show.
I'm going to go ahead and remove Mishaal. Mishaal. I will stop my cam. I will go ahead and put this thingy up and make sure that I've got the music off looping. Okay, we're good.
All right. This episode of Android Faithful is brought to you by the great Code Chase from Square. Compete now on the Square Developer YouTube channel, and you can win a limited edition Square Developer Lego minifig. Find out more at fnf.dev/codechase. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another wonderful edition of Android Faithful, your weekly source of Android news, hardware, apps, lively discussion, hot topics, hot takes, and just a general fun time. I'm Ron Richards.
Lively discussion. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Mishaal Rahman.
Hey, guys, it's good to be back. I missed you last week. I took the week off. Missed doing the show. I was on vacation, a much-needed vacation. I got a little sun. I don't know if the video viewers can tell, but I was in sunny Florida, had perfect weather. It was very nice.
Enjoying your time, living it up in Disney World.
Living it up in Disney World.
I got to ask. We talked about this before the show. You go to Disney World a lot, but like, what is your favorite thing to repeat at Disney World? Surely you've been there so many times. You found something that you just like to do over and over again.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. The rides are fun and all this sort of stuff. Right now, I happen to be at the point in my life where I'm enjoying experience. Like I spent 5 days there. Making sure my kids just had the most magical time they could. So it's like experiencing it through a new set of eyes and like setting up little surprises and like watching, and this time around, like my kids are way more into Star Wars. So we went to Hollywood Studios and did the Star Wars rides and like that blew their minds. And my daughter's an adrenaline junkie. So she went on Tower of Terror twice and went on an Everest roller coaster. And like we went on Space Mountain for the first time and she said it was too slow. So like I've got things to worry about with her as she grows up. But personally for me, I just love the controlled, like I was telling you guys in the pre-show, I forgot what day it was at one point, like just the controlled environment and and this is probably the first time in a long time where like I disconnected from work completely and was not very stressed. And in the evening I go to the Polynesian Hotel and get a tiki drink and just kind of relax. And like, I just like the idea that you walk through a place and there's just music playing and you don't know where the music's coming from, but it's there, and just the kind of like, it's just great. It's just an escape going to a place like Disney World. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So and I do like figuring out how they do it and the whole production aspect of it. I enjoy that. So but I enjoy the production of this show and I missed you guys. But speaking of production, a couple of cool announcements real quickly, some housekeeping for you the listeners. Number one, as you know from listening to the show for almost 2 years now, we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary. We live stream the show every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch over at the Daily Tech News Show YouTube channel and Twitch channel. But as of this week, we now are also live streaming on Patreon. So at patreon.com/AndroidFaithful every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Whether you are a loyal paying patron or a free member or not a member of the Android Faithful Patreon at all, you can watch the show stream live there as well too, and the recording will be there if you choose to hang out on Patreon. Those of you who watch on YouTube or Twitch, doesn't change anything. Also, Mishaal, you live stream this out to your account on X. Wherever you choose to watch it, continue to watch it. We're just giving you more options. That's all. Patreon recently added live streaming, and so we're just plugged the show into that. So if you like Patreon, go use it there. And welcome to the 6 people that are watching it on Patreon tonight. We thank you. We appreciate you. You're some of our favorite folks.
Yes, might be a little Inception But let's see here. I'm trying to get.
Oh, don't accept.
Are you about to show?
Yeah. Don't show the show on the show in the show.
Don't show the show on the show in the show.
Don't show on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Right.
And then, so that's it on the live stream. And then the second one over on the social media side of things, this is a very subtle change, and you guys might not have even noticed, but we got a new handle over on Instagram. We used to be Instagram.com/AndroidFaithful podcast. We are now simply Instagram.com/AndroidFaithful.
We did it. We win.
Very simple. Justin Timberlake came to my house and said, I got an idea. Drop the podcast.
You don't need that. You are the Android Faithful.
So we are now just at Android Faithful on Instagram. So if you're not following us over on Instagram, please do give us a follow. That you can get cool posts about the show, articles over on the website. Every now and then we post photos of us when we all get together. Good times. So be sure to post that. Go follow us over there. Lots of bug droids. So
lots of them.
Oh man,
Yep.
I totally just realized that you could change your handle. I mean, I guess you have to reclaim the handle from someone else if someone else already had it. In my case, like on Instagram and Threads, I'm Mishaal_Rahman, and that really messes with all my other platforms where I'm just Mishaal Rahman without any underscores. So I got to see if I can reclaim that handle from whoever else has it right now.
Hang on. You cannot, because I just did. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Someone will. You might want to do it right now before someone does it.
I mean, someone else already had it. That's why I had to use the underscore in the first place.
Well, actually, funny story, because when we initially started Android Faithful, I tried to get Android Faithful podcast. I tried to get Android Faithful. No one had it. But through Meta's bizarre security, like me trying to create a new account, but I already had an account associated with my phone number and all this sort of stuff, they locked it down and wouldn't give it to me. So I just waited it out. And then the other day I was like, oh, I wonder if I can get it. And I did. So
and boop, you did.
Yep.
It's great when it works out like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got
good.
it. So
I'm happy it worked out.
Go follow Android Faithful over on Instagram. That's all our housekeeping. So why don't we get to the news?
Let's get to it. Over to you, Mishaal.
All right, and the first bit of news is a new release of Android 16. So we got the fourth beta of Android 16 last week, which is actually the last scheduled update in the Android 16 beta program. So this is the last big beta. After this, there's no beta 5. You might get a couple of 4.1 or 4.2 bug fix releases, but this is the final beta before the stable update. So being the final update before the stable update, this is the second platform stability release, meaning that all the developer APIs and system behaviors that impact apps have been finalized, and developers can continue to release app updates on Google Play that target Android 16. But one big difference with the Beta 4 release is that now you have more devices that are available to install the Android 16 beta, including the Honor Magic 7 Pro, OnePlus 13, Realme GT7 Pro, Vivo X200 Pro, Xiaomi 15, and more. So you don't only have Pixel devices now that are eligible to install Android 16 beta. You have a bunch more devices. The stable release is expected to drop in early June, and it'll be followed by 2 quarterly releases, the QPR1 update in Q3 and QPR2 update in Q4. And then Android 17, of course, will be next year. So what are some of the new features in Android 16 Beta 4? Pretty much nothing. Like, besides one change to the terminal app, where you can now resize the amount of storage you give it to take up as much storage as you want, and some features that were removed and then added back. There's not really any big user-facing changes. But as usual, there's some under-the-hood changes that are worth talking about. The first one might delight some of you who loved the old Do Not Disturb toggle in the quick settings. So with the second quarterly release of Android 15, Google introduced the new modes feature, which is basically like a supercharged version of Do Not Disturb, where instead of having one Do Not Disturb schedule, you could create as many as you wanted, give them a custom name, custom icon, and then you could toggle those custom modes through the new modes panel in the quick settings, which replaced the old Do Not Disturb toggle. So a lot of users who don't care for this modes feature, which Jason seems to be one of them, judging by his pointing a few seconds ago.
Put 2 hands in the air. Yeah, I don't care for it.
If you only care about Do Not Disturb, you might have hated this change, because now you have to expand the modes tile, and then you have to tap Do Not Disturb. It took what previously took basically 1 click, now took 2.
Or
Google
3
has kind of heard those frustrations, or 3, yeah. Google heard those complaints And it looks like they are working on bringing back a dedicated Do Not Disturb shortcut in addition to the existing modes panel. I don't know when this is going to launch, but this is something that I spotted in beta 4, and it looks like it might be coming in a future update. So the next new feature is a video chat panel that will allow you to apply video effects to any ongoing call. So this video chat panel is accessed through the quick settings. There'll be a new quick settings tile that you can tap, and it expands open into a new panel where you can enable effects like background blur, portrait lighting, portrait touch-up, and studio-style mic processing. So these are kind of effects that you see in a lot of desktop platforms, including Google's own Chrome OS. So this might be part of Google's work to basically desktopify or turn Android into a desktop platform so that, you know, whenever you attach a webcam or you go on any video conferencing platform, you can apply these effects at a system level instead of only within the application. Although when I tried this new video chat panel and some of the effects, nothing worked at the moment. And the video chat panel itself is not available in beta 4. It's just hidden right now. But it might come out in a future quarterly release or maybe Android 17. And the next change is a very minor change. It's basically Google is working to make the settings homepage a bit more colorful. So if you remember back before Android 12, the front page of the settings app used to have a lot more color. All the icons for like the internet page, the Bluetooth page, all those icons used to be filled in with color. But with Android 12, they kind of replaced them with grayscale muted icons. It looks like Google is now testing new, more colorful icons in this latest beta 4 release. And these icons could be part of Google's new expressive Material Design 3 theme, which I'll talk about a bit more later. If you're watching the video feed, you can see a side-by-side, or actually a top-down comparison of how the icons look like in beta 4 right now versus how the more colorful icons look like in this new hidden update of the settings app. And that's pretty much it for actual like beta 4 changes. Like there's not really much to talk about in terms of relevant changes. Like there was I guess the battery health feature was briefly missing, and then they added it back in a server-side update. The toggle to enable the screen off fingerprint unlock was removed, although if you previously had the feature enabled, it still works. But like other than that, there's really not much changed between beta 3 and beta 4, which is kind of to be expected because this is
it's so late.
The last release. This is basically the release candidate before the stable update coming in June. So you really shouldn't expect many big changes at this point.
Well, I am very happy that the quick or the settings kind of approach on the do not disturb and whatever they're calling it. What are they calling it? The modes thing. Like, I get it. I understand why modes would exist, but really the only thing that I ever interact with that for is a single, purpose when I get up really early, because I do every day, and I want to turn off the overnight do not disturb. It used to just be one tap. It was like, just pull it down and it's called quick settings for a reason. I just open it up and I hit the button and I'm done. Mm-hmm. And now I have to open the modes thing. And for whatever reason, the sleeping thing is down at the bottom of the list below the fold. So I now have to swipe up and then I have to tap it and then I have to hit OK. So it's like I'm doing 4 instead of 1. And that sounds lame. It's like, oh, well, get over it. Change is hard. But when you do that every single day, it's like, oh, this used to be so much easier. So I don't know.
I feel like the modes feature is for people who are basically very organized in their lives.
Yes.
Like, you set up multiple schedules for everything. You have predefined activities. You know how long they're going to last. You can set up schedules for pretty much everything beforehand. Whereas do not disturb is for like regular, the average person, who just like, oh, I should mute my phone right now. Let me just tap do not disturb.
Right.
And it's very simple and it worked. So I can understand why a lot of people were kind of upset that the quick and simple toggle went away.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, like I realized I was like freaking out when you were reading this, putting both of my hands in the air. It's also really not the end of the world. Like,
yeah,
I could do the 4, and if that was just the way that it was, I would get used to it eventually. But knowing that they're willing to revert so that I only have to press 1 time instead of 4 times, I don't know, that makes me happy. So, is what it is. Cool. All right. And yeah, I'm not disappointed that there isn't a whole lot of big whiz bang changes at this point. This is pretty late in the game, so I wouldn't imagine that there would be. So that makes sense to me. Want to talk about a little assistant. I don't know if this is, if this is a little bit of chaos in the assistant world or what, but change is afoot. And I think the timing is really interesting on this. So Perplexity is on the cusp of striking some seemingly pretty major deals with Motorola. The Motorola deal we might actually hear about in a couple of days. So that's, potentially right around the corner, in which case this would go from rumorville on Bloomberg to actually happening. And yeah, I'm sorry, I don't pay for Bloomberg, so I can't show you the full article, but Bloomberg sources do say that Perplexity is striking a deal with Motorola, and it would mean that Perplexity would be preloaded as an alternative to Gemini. What I don't understand is, does that mean it would replace Gemini entirely, or Gemini would be on there as an option, but there would also be Perplexity? That's probably what it is.
I suspect that it's just going to be available as another pre-installed option, but it's not going to be the default, because I don't think that would be allowed right now under the current agreements in the US. Although with all the regulatory changes that have been happening, I can't wrap my head around. I can't remember all the changes that happened.
Totally. Right. In some countries, it might actually be preloaded as the default, or I don't know, maybe an option screen. Which assistant do you want? At a startup. It would include a custom interface for the upcoming Razr foldable. And like I said, likely to be announced here in a couple of days. Is there a Motorola event scheduled for April 24th? I mean, that's the date that Bloomberg put out there, but I don't know if there's like an official event.
There's an imminent launch, I think, in New York. Or they hinted at the new Razr or something.
Probably going to be the new Razr. So that's right on the horizon, and that'll be interesting. And then we've got Samsung also, apparently, according to these similar sources to Bloomberg, in early talks with Perplexity as well to, I think this is funny. The article says, either it would be a default assistant option, it would be a preloaded app, or a featured choice in Galaxy Store. I'm like, okay, well, that's a pretty wide range. It's either, oh my goodness, this is groundbreaking, or okay, so they're featuring it in the App Store. That's not really big news. But anyways, it is, I think this is really interesting timing. It's not related, but it is interesting how some things sync up at the same time, because we have the US versus Google case that's happening right now. And in that case, just today, there was news that revealed Google's 2-year contract with Samsung for, quote, enormous sums of money to pre-install Gemini on Samsung devices. Samsung and Google, of course, have a very, very tight and close relationship. Certainly that, could potentially change depending on how all of this case stuff goes with the illegal monopoly charges and all that. So it's just interesting timing. Perplexity could be the darling of AI assistants on mobile phones.
You really gotta, like, the players in the spaces between these service providers have got to be like, waiting with bated breath to see what happens with the Google and DOJ case and like any of these kind of any opportunity that might happen for Perplexity to step up and fill that void where Google might, have to recede from. Obviously, like, they jump at that opportunity. It could be just a life-changing event for a company like Perplexity, right? Yeah.
Absolutely could.
Yeah, so
it could. But I know that like the AI assistants aren't really, like, that whole aspect isn't part of the case that's going on right now. That's not what the case is built around.
No, but
that was
it'll
just
have
something that was revealed.
ramifications. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, and once again, I feel like every single day there's a news story either here in the U.S. or in the U.K. or earlier it was in Japan for the first time, where all these countries, independent of each other, but kind of at the same time, because it's in the air. The scent is in the air. There's just a lot of attention being paid to these mammoth technology companies, and it just kind of feels like, all right, things are about to change. Like, I think it's pretty imminent at this point. I know it's imminent. Just to what degree? Is Google required to sell off Chrome? If you ask Tom Merritt on Daily Tech News Show, he'd say, well, probably not. They shoot for the moon and they end up, somewhere in the middle. And so we really don't know where it all leads to.
Right.
I don't know if you saw the news today, but apparently OpenAI is interested in buying Chrome from Google.
Of course.
Fascinating.
That would
I don't know
that
if
would
I'd
be
be
a
a fan of
huge
that.
move for
That would be
Yeah,
big
that'd
for
be-
them.
be a
That's
huge
wild.
move for OpenAI. Oh my
If you think
goodness.
about it, it's like we're going on 20 years of the status quo that's going to be disrupted, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just that's crazy. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Although I'm kind of Jason, have you used Perplexity as an assistant on Android?
I have not assigned it as my assistant, but I have used the voice mode a lot within
Right.
the app. And I imagine if I set it as my assistant, that would be the mode that I'd be interacting with. And yeah,
Like,
I've had good results.
That's the
with it.
one thing that I feel like a lot of these fledgling LLM chatbots turned assistant kind of lack is that they feel like basically just glorified ways to access, to
Their
search things
thing.
online with your voice, right? I know Perplexity and I think Microsoft, they do support doing some Android specific things, controlling some apps, like sending text messages, for example. But like the list of things that you can do with Gemini and previously Google Assistant that
Yeah.
are like specific to Android and also controlling your smart home devices is just significantly far ahead.
Yeah, big
So,
time difference. You're
It
right.
doesn't really feel like Perplexity is more of an assistant and more just a chatbot at the moment.
yeah,
Well, I think what it is, yeah, I think you raise a really good point as far as that's concerned. Some people don't feel like what they need out of a voice assistant is, the deep integration with Android and the controls and stuff. But some of those people who don't care about that stuff might just have a strong affinity for this chatbot or that chatbot. Because I mean, there's a ton of them out there now, and everybody kind of has their camp or knows what the people who are really steeped in this stuff know which one is good for what sort of thing for what they do.
True.
And so some people might be okay with the fact that it doesn't control Android on a deep level, but it does the thing that they need it to do the majority of times that they turn to it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's just what are your needs?
indeed. Well, speaking of needs, before we get to our next story, real quickly, quick update on that Patreon live stream. It died.
Oh, no.
So, it was experimental. Our apologies. Hopefully, folks that are watching live
it's an
switched over to
RTM
YouTube or Twitch.
Stream, right?
Yeah, on Patreon, it disconnected, and I was unable to restore the connection. We'll talk after the show, Jason. But
Oh, well.
But it was an
We'll
experiment.
continue to try.
So we'll keep everyone updated, but we might not have it in place next week. So stay tuned.
This is technology in a nutshell. This is
We're
just the way
trying
it
things.
goes.
So
Yep.
we're trying new things. Talk about new things. So Samsung has been trying to roll out One UI 7 over this past month, and we've been following the bungling of that. But the folks over at Sam Mobile got their hands on One UI 8. And you think that they would be excited, and I need to give them credit over to the folks over at Sam Mobile. The level of snark in the blog posts about One UI 8 was really next level on this in the amount of disappointment and just complete kind of just annoyance at the lack of anything new with One UI 8, because One UI 8 really is just kind of is shaping up to be a very small update as it goes, a more iterative update after One UI 7. So One UI 8 is picking up Android 16, of course. It kind of aligns with that. And from what they've seen so far, there's really not much to write home about. In fact, they say, it's really basically just 7.1. It could have just been positioned as 7.1. So some brief feature changes and updates that they were able to glean from looking at it. They added the now brief to the Galaxy Z Flip 6 in One UI 7, and now in One UI 8 it becomes available on older devices. And One UI 8 also adds support for log video recording in the camera app, which was available, which debuted on the Galaxy S25 and is only available for the S24 series with the One UI 7 update. So now it goes a little wider with One UI 8. And of course now they've did add some new improvements to the quick share feature, which lets you share files. Obviously, as we know, now they've divided that section into receive and send files. So you can manage how you are receiving and sending files with quick share in One UI 8 that way. And they've made some UI updates, some actual user interface design updates. The folks over at Sam Mobile also tinkered with it on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, and in there where they described it as the most boring update ever. Which just cracks me up.
Burns.
And they confirmed that they saw the quick share updates on that one as well as some UI changes around the gallery's pop-up menu and new wallpaper colors. And then over on the Galaxy Z Fold, they confirmed that they saw that it's still very buggy, and it's still basically in development mode, and there's really not much to write home about. But it's coming, so if you're a Samsung user, you can look forward to this very iterative update.
But okay, so One UI 7 just launched though. Like, so wouldn't this just be like very feature less because it's like ridiculously early?
That's exactly what I was about to say, Jason. So like, I think obviously it's really tempting to say, oh, One UI is boring, but what you're seeing here is a very early snapshot of One UI 8, if you can even call it One UI 8, because remember, Google pretty much just finalized Android 16 for like OEMs maybe like 2 months ago, or like they kind of gave them like basically a near final version of Android 16 to work with, maybe like a month. I don't know exactly when like the cutoff date was,
right?
But they haven't had a very long time of like the finalized version of Android 16. But what you're seeing here is basically one of those really early builds where they took Android 16 and they ported all of their One UI changes, existing One UI features on top of it. So basically you just have One UI 7 on top of Android 16. But because it's Android 16 base, people are calling it One UI 8. This is I would hesitate to call this One UI 8 at all. Because One UI 8 is what you're going to see once Samsung is done adding all the stuff that it plans to add in
it's One UI 8 like a blank page.
Yeah, it's like
right?
skeleton
like it's the beginnings of one. Yeah, so it's a little snarky to attack it because it's
right. I agree with that.
Yeah, so
like
if this was like their official beta and it was in this state, then you can mock it all you want. But this was a leak. Like Samsung did not intend for these builds to be published.
And boy, is it clickbaity, that's for sure. So yeah.
It worked.
Give that credit. Yeah, so
it worked.
Anyway, all right. Well, what can we look forward to at Google I/O then, Mishaal?
All right. So as I alluded to earlier, it sounds like Google might be working on a new version of Material Design that they might unveil at I/O. So while I was looking through the Android open source code project, I spotted a code change, about a month old code change that was titled, and I quote, "Do not submit I/O 2025 expressive talk code demos." And yes, the "do not submit" was in the title. So I think you can understand that probably Google didn't intend to mention that they were going to host a talk at I/O about this new expressive design. And from the title of this code change, as well as another comment that a Googler left a couple of months ago, who mentioned that, quote, "Material is experimenting with bringing developers ways to make their apps more engaging by introducing more expressive features." It sounds like Google is working on a new, more expressive, quote unquote, version of Material Design. When I reached out to Google for comment, they declined to comment, and they didn't really share any details, and I don't really know much about what this new version of Material entails. However, from my understanding, it could be called Material Design 3 Expressive, based on some references I found in code. So because we already have Material Design 3, otherwise known as Material U, it sounds like this new expressive version won't be like a substantial jump from the current design, but it'll be like a more of an iterative an evolution compared to what we have currently.
Well, and that would make sense because in the past, we've been seeing iterative design changes eking out of applications coming out of Google from different corners of the business, left and right, right? And we're going to talk about that later on in the show also, and
Right.
you know, in different, you know, we're seeing it. You know, I'm seeing it all over the place. You're seeing a little bit of an evolution of the design paradigm, and usually that precedes a umbrella gathering of defining what the design sensibility is, right? Historically.
So, Ron, you're playing a video right now where I'm showing something that I think could represent the expressive design. So, in several Google apps and the settings app, there's some code names for expressive redesigns of these applications. And although I don't have like the full guidelines, just from my own, like what I'm seeing in these applications, I think what the expressive design could bring, it could have toggles that have filled in icons. So instead of just like a toggle that just has the background color and the little circle, you could have an X or a check mark that indicates when the toggle is on or off. Yep. Expressive design could also have, instead of like, you know, where you have in settings, all these items are kind of separated by just nothing. You might have these filled in, these pills that kind of indicate individual items. Another thing that might be part of expressive design is, as you showed before, that new colorful icon scheme. So you might have more pastel colors as part of the expressive design. And there's a couple other smaller things that might be part of expressive material design, but you know, we won't really know until Google talks about it more at I/O.
Expressive.
Yep. Well, I welcome any sort of update to material design in a conversation at I/O because those are always fun. So I look forward to it. Hopefully,
Material Design 3, Jazz Hands. The Jazz Hands update. Yeah, look forward to that. Okay. Well, cool. We should throw out some thanks to our amazing patrons who tried to watch our live stream.
Well, a handful of them.
You know, they're on the bleeding edge of everything that we do with Android Faithful. And so we appreciate them and we appreciate their patience while we figure things like that out. But patrons also help us pick the story that we're going to talk about in this next segment. And they do that by voting. But before we get there, we put the call out for people to send us their own Android figurine image, often, if not always, generated by artificial intelligence. Probably Gemini, I'm guessing. But anyways, this one was done by George Castro. The bug droid with some commentary. This is how Ron watches Android news biting down on his earbuds cable. I wonder how long they last.
So every now and then, I appreciate our astute viewing audience who might notice some of our bad habits, including my proclivity to chew on my cable as we're doing on the. So George, you got me. That was pretty funny. To give a little more context to this, this is a $9.99, as in $9.99 Sony earbud cable that gets the job done, and they are very durable, and they last through a lot of shows being chewed on. So, yep.
I appreciate how the cord is plugged into the top of the phone.
Yes, the Courage port. It's the classic Courage port, right? Yeah.
I see. Oh, I was thinking that it was like plugged in like this.
Right. Yeah. No, that's how the old Courage ports used to be. Remember, it was a vertical.
It might be a curvy thing.
It was a vertical Courage port, right? They used to go in the front, right?
Right. Dang. Yeah. Have we seen that in phones? I don't know.
I don't think we've ever seen that.
That's too bad. Somebody should do that. Great image, George. Thank you for sending that. All right, and then patrons, you all placed your votes before 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific today for the story that we would read and talk about on the show. You did not want us to talk about I tried to de-Google my life, but it's not nearly as easy as it sounds. 22% of you wanted us to talk about that. 32% of you wanted us to talk about how long should a smartphone last. Oh, that sounds intriguing to me. But the majority, 46%, said, let's talk about how useless Android's answer to Apple Health is. This is an article written by Rita. Mishaal, how do you pronounce Rita's last name? Is it Corey?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. I should probably ask that. I haven't met her in person yet, but hopefully sometime in the future.
Rita, you're awesome. Thank you. If you want to come on the show and tell us how to pronounce your last name, you are invited.
Open
by
invite.
The way. Open invite. Wrote an article on Android Authority that says, I just discovered how useless Android's answer to Apple Health is, and it's pretty much a roast of what is it? The Health Connect. That's right. That's what it's called. I don't use Health Connect very much for anything, so I don't know directly, but she points out a number of reasons why it sucks. Health Connect syncs data locally on one device only. That data doesn't carry over when you switch devices. That sounds a little weird to me. 30 days of data can be restored only, which another very strange thing. No central repository or cloud backup for the health data. Step counts are averages. Step counts and averages are inconsistent across devices. It's just a whole list of these things suck. This is why it sucks compared to Apple's approach.
So, I mean, there are two things that are not fully accurate. The one thing that she didn't know until I brought up was that there is a backup and restore option in Health Connect, but it is a manual backup and then a manual restore. So that wouldn't really solve the problem of the database being out of sync on devices, because you got to constantly back up and restore between devices. The other thing is that the ability for apps to pull in more than 30 days worth of data, that is something that Google finally just added, but it's something that apps have to support. But basically the main problem, the fundamental problem that Rita rightly brings up in this article is that people want, from like a convenience perspective, you kind of want your health data to be synced and the same across all your devices, your watch, your phone, your tablet, your treadmill, whatever has Health Connect available on it, right? Because that's kind of how Apple Health works. But because Google took this privacy-centric, security-first approach to developing Health Connect, they implemented a lot of these features to be completely on-device, localized to one device first, and they tacked on the ability to sync data between devices. They finally added the ability to pull in historical data. So, because of this design approach from the beginning, it's always been localized to just one device, and now Google's finally trying to roll out more and more features. Whereas, if they had designed from the convenience perspective first, but still made it secure, I think a lot of people, including Rita, would have been more happy with the way it turned out. But as it is, if you use a lot of devices, as reviewers like us tend to do, it's probably something you're going to find a little frustrating.
Indeed.
Yep.
Frustrating. So there you go. Y'all should definitely check out Rita's article. It is very, very detailed. I'm pretty impressed.
Am I the only person that uses Google Fit still?
I don't really use it.
I think
no.
a lot. I mean, it was really popular, but the problem is, haven't they deprecated a lot of the APIs for storing stuff? Google Fit used to be the central hub for everything, right?
Yeah.
But they want everyone to migrate over to Health Connect. So I think.
But so my running app still connects to Google Fit. Google Fit still keeps track of my steps, right? It has all my historical data. It does what it is, and everyone in chat saying they use it.
I just looked it up, and apparently all the Google Fit APIs will no longer be available in 2026. So yeah,
so they kneecapped Google Fit.
That's a good for. I'm sorry to break the news to you guys, but it seems like a lot of the apps that you use, that you rely on to sync to Google Fit, are not going to work next year.
Wah. Big time wah.
So that's so confusing. So I don't even know, is Health Connect even an app?
It's complicated. It's an app and it's a framework. So it's an app that you can use to manage permissions for other apps that use it. And the app also holds the database of your health data that apps can contribute to it and read from.
Right, yeah. So I opened Health Connect. It says recent access. Google Fit accessed it.
Yeah, so Google Fit can connect to Health Connect. Yeah. And then other apps can connect to that and then read the data that Google Fit contributed to it.
Okay. Yeah, so Google Fit isn't a user-facing app. It's just managing the API connections. Right.
Health Connect is both. It is a user-facing app because you can see. I mean, you can't actually see your health data in it. You can't see how many steps you've taken, or
Yeah,
your
I mean,
heart
I
rate.
open Health Connect and all I see is recent access, and it says Google Fit, write activity, read activity, write activity, read
Yeah,
activity.
yeah.
That's all it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So there's no front end to Health Connect.
If
It's
it
just-
worked exactly, like if all applications were updated to use all the latest Health Connect features, and they were constantly, like reading your data and pulling in your historical data with using the new APIs, then I think it would work a lot better. But the problem is a lot of apps that use Health Connect, they're waiting for these APIs to leave beta.
Oh, interesting. So I just opened my running app, and at the top, so I opened to, partner accounts, and while I'm connected to Google Fit, at the top of it is Health Connect. So I can connect it to Health Connect. There we go.
Yeah, so the problem with Health Connect, though, so say you install a brand new running app, like, say, Adidas Running, for example.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I use. That's what I use.
Right?
Yeah.
Say you installed it today,
Yep.
and you granted it access to Health Connect.
Yep.
It would be able to read. So let's say you had previously used a separate running app, and you contributed all that data to Health Connect.
Yep.
And then you installed Adidas Running today.
Yep.
Adidas Running would be able to access your running data, your step counts, and all that stuff no earlier than March 22nd, which is 1 month from
Got it.
1 month before today, right? It wouldn't be able to access any data older than March 22nd.
Okay.
And that's been a long time limitation of Health Connect because of the lack of historical data access.
That just seems silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Willie said it right. Good Lord, this is complicated.
Yeah, I know. It really
my
is.
gosh. All right.
So, Rita, you're not wrong.
Not wrong. How'd you screw
not
this
wrong.
up, Google?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rita, for writing that. Thank you, patrons, for voting for that, because I think that was the right story to talk about this
I
week.
liked Google Fit
You can still like it.
until 2026, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, you've got time to like it.
Anyway, all right. Finish
And
up.
no more, Ron.
Fine.
And big thank you, big shout out to Blind Android, our patron of the week.
Yes.
Good to
Thanks
have
for
you
your
here.
support.
Thank you.
All
everybody.
right. And we're going to take a quick break, and we're also going to thank Square for their support of this episode of All About Android, because attention developers, this episode of Android Faithful is brought to you by the great Code Chase from Square. So earlier this year, Square developers launched the Great Code Chase. It's an interactive, developer-focused scavenger hunt for all developers, from new Square devs to experienced devs within the Square ecosystem. Participants follow a series of clues hidden across Square's developer resources and social channels to complete the challenge and catch the Code Runner. And get this, the first 500 US and Canada participants who successfully complete the challenge have the chance to win a limited edition Square Developers Lego minifigure. Here's how you can get involved. First, you want to create a Square developer account or go sign in at squ.re/codechase. And then you want to go to fnf.dev/codechase and watch the video there to discover your first clue. Then join the Square Developers Discord, and that link is going to be on the website that you go to, and be on the lookout for helpful hints. And then you'll be on track to win the limited edition Square Developer Lego minifigure of the Code Runner if you're one of the first 500 participants to complete the Great Code Chase. By the way, we're told the first clue might be in the video that you can find at fnf.dev/codechase. It's really important you need a capital C in Codechase. So that's fnf.dev/CODE, fnf.dev/codechase. So watch carefully, get on the chase, head over to fnf.dev/codechase right now. The link is in our show notes, and we want to thank Square and the Great Code Chase for supporting Android Faithful, and good luck developers in the Great Code Chase. Thanks, Square. We appreciate your support. And after this break, we're going to head into hardware. Excellent.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Talk some hardware.
So, longtime listeners of the show know that I have a soft spot in my heart for rugged devices. I do love the rugged devices, and Samsung is stepping up for you frontline and enterprise workers out there with the new Samsung rugged Galaxy X Cover 7 Pro phone, as well as the Galaxy Tab Active 5 Pro. These have been built to be rugged, as Samsung's marketing materials tell us. Very, very exciting.
I mean, even that. Look at that S Pen. That thing looks rugged. Even
that S Pen does look rugged, right? Yeah. So as
looks
mentioned,
like has a brick on the end of it.
these are designed for enterprise and frontline workers, meaning folks in the field or in factories or things like that. And the Galaxy X Cover 7 Pro is the more advanced version of the Galaxy X Cover 7 that came out last year, which was the successor to the X Cover 6 Pro from 2022. And the Galaxy Cover 7 Pro has got a better display, faster processor, better rear and front camera, bigger battery, and all that great stuff, right? So this one is going to come in with 6 gig of RAM and 128 gig of storage. It's going to cost $693. It's going to be available in early May 2025, but Samsung has not revealed what regions it's going to be available in as of yet. And then, of course, because it's being used in very rugged conditions in the field, it's water and dust resistant and has an IP68 rating. It's got rubberized protection around the sides, which I do love, that rugged rubberized protection. And it's got the Corning Gorilla Victus Plus protection, and the MIL-STD810H certification to help you manage your drop ratios. And then it's got a 6.6-inch LCD with full HD plus resolution, and they've added Vision Booster, which increases the brightness of the display under direct sunlight, which is kind of awesome for people who are out on construction sites and things like that. And then it also adds touch sensitivity mode, which basically allows it's quite obvious what it allows, more sensitive touch. So if you're using the device while wearing gloves, if you're a welder or a construction worker and you're wearing heavy gloves and you're still using the device, it can you can tap it, it'll work. So that's pretty cool then. It's running the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3 chipset, and it's going to be running One UI 7 for those keeping track at home. And it's got all the cool stuff that comes with that.
No, like One UI 8.
Not One UI 8.
Lame.
And it's got all the fun stuff like Circle the Search and AI Select and Read Aloud, etc. And it's just packed with all the great stuff that you need in there. It's got a 50 megapixel primary camera on the rear and 8 megapixel secondary with an ultra wide lens, and on the front it's got a 13 megapixel camera, 4,350 milliamp battery, which is user replaceable. Which when was the last time you saw a user replaceable battery, everybody?
That's good. I like that.
Also, you can charge the battery via the USB-C port or pogo pins. That's pretty cool.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How about that? Because in those, I imagine there's pogo pin based charging, like the drills and things like that. They just snap.
You don't want to have to take off your welding gloves to plug in a USB-C port.
Exactly. So
yeah.
So Samsung's got your rugged needs covered for you frontline workers.
So I got a question. Why are there like standard consumer phones coming out with IP69, which is all about like high pressure water jets and stuff, but rugged phones aren't doing IP69? Like that's where the IP69 actually needs to be, is rugged phones, like out in the field and stuff. That's probably where the high pressure water jets are going. Like
they'll have it in like 2 years. Yeah, is my guess. Yeah.
But I feel like the high pressure water jets you might see in these like industrial are probably like way too powerful for any phone to survive.
Yeah, for IP69 they blow it out. Right? They blow it out. I still think that there is such a market for rugged phones in the consumer space that someone just needs to take the risk and put a rugged phone on the shelves at the Verizon store. I mean, clearly, like Mars Hall in the chat said, I want a rugged phone. Like, people would buy these rugged phones if you stopped isolating them to the factory workers, right? Like,
would they, Ron?
I think they would. I think you'd be surprised. I think you would be surprised.
I mean, I know there are people who specifically buy them, even though like they don't really work in those fields. Like, you can buy an ULA phone off of Amazon or their website, and people do that, right? Yeah. But like, I don't know if these would fly off the shelves.
Here's the deal: email us, contact@androidfaithful.com if you have ever bought a rugged phone, and if so, which one, and your experience, or if you would buy a rugged phone.
Or if you
No.
just have one at work and you use one, like because it's what's provided to you.
Basically, any experience with a rugged phone, a desire, a want, a daydream, or practical experience, email us contact@androidfaithful.com.
I gotta ask, Ron, have you ever bought a rugged phone? Have you ever owned a rugged phone? You're
No,
so
but I want
fascinated
one
with them.
so-
Like, you're the target audience for a rugged phone. What's it going to take for you to get one?
I know.
Maybe
really
better
live-
internals.
Live durability test.
I
Take
really
a
should
hammer,
wa-
smash it, throw it across the room.
I really
what's
should
gonna
walk the
take?
walk. I really should walk the
Is that
walk.
what it's going to take, Ron?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe part of the reason is because, rugged phones, it's like the money goes into keeping it rugged, and the internals are usually pretty ho-hum.
Yeah, it's always to your point about the IP rating. It's always a couple of years behind. It seems like they're always So
The chipset's always kind of like, not quite top of the line, whatever.
not quite.
Yeah. So interesting.
All right.
You're
Well, what is
probably
interesting.
gonna buy the Vivo, is what you're gonna buy, Ron.
No, I'm not buying the Vivo.
Yeah, because this new Vivo phone, it is decidedly not a rugged phone. This is something that you're gonna have
It's
to
the
baby,
opposite.
especially considering how much it costs. So, Android Central put out this article recently with a pretty provocative title. They said that the Vivo puts Samsung to shame with their new X200 Ultra. So this article basically talks about how Vivo's new X200 Ultra phone, which is just unveiled in China, is basically like the cream of the crop when it comes to camera. So Vivo is already known, like if you follow creators online who like covered a lot of China market phones, Vivo is like probably the best right now in the industry when it comes to still photography. And their latest X200 Ultra has 2 dedicated image processing chips, the VS1 and the V3 Plus, with the former handling preliminary optimization of raw data and the latter handling post-processing tasks. So a lot of phones these days have like a dedicated image processing chip in addition to the inbuilt ISP, but this device has 2 dedicated chips for processing for photos. And some other devices, like my Xiaomi 15 Ultra here, Vivo is also offering a dedicated photographer kit accessory that comes with a Zeiss 2.35x telephoto converter and also a camera grip. And then the phone itself has a pretty incredible camera system that's comprised of a 50 megapixel main camera sensor with the Sony LYT818 sensor, 200 megapixel 3.7x telephoto lens with the HP9 module, and a 50 megapixel wide angle lens that also uses the Sony LYT818 sensor, along with advanced video capabilities like 4K 60 10-bit log recording. And it's also, it's a flagship phone, premium high-end device, so it comes equipped with the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, up to 1 terabyte of internal storage, a 6.82-inch Quad HD OLED display with a large 6,000 milliamp hour battery and 90-watt fast charging support. So, like, if you compare it spec for spec compared to Samsung's flagship Galaxy S25 Ultra, there's a lot of areas where it does beat out the S25 Ultra, except for one, which is availability, because it's never coming to the US.
Yeah.
So, but if you do live in a market where Vivo will be selling this device, it might be worth looking into, especially if you really care about still photography.
Yeah, Vivo is one of those brands that I have not had any real experience with, and I would love to, just purely because like a lot of other tech reviewers that get their hands on them swear by them for cameras.
Yeah.
This is just to prove, like, to drive the point home, right? This isn't actually an accessory. This like extension lens.
I kind of hope it is. And for our audio listeners, it's a photo of somebody holding the Vivo camera as a camera with the camera extension and the shutter button, and where the lens is, there's a extended camera lens that it's got to be at least what, like that's like 5-6 inches long.
Yeah.
Like that is it's comically long.
I gotta wonder like how unbalanced the phone will be. Like if you tried to hold it based on the corners with the lens attached, you definitely have to hold it with like the lens, one hand underneath the lens,
so
the other holding the side.
Is that illustrative of what the effect is, or is that actually a lens that you attach to the phone?
This isn't a lens that's like available that you can screw on to the camera, is it? I just assumed this was like to drive the point home that like this is a real camera. Check it out.
I think it is. I think that's the point of the kit, because it has like telephoto converter and like a grip.
So you're saying this is like legit?
No.
Wow. I just
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
it was to prove a point.
No, it can't be.
Are you sure? I think it is.
Well, I'm zoom enhancing. I'm trying.
I mean, I would
anyways.
not be surprised at this point, considering like other companies
Well,
have done
we've
something
seen-
similar.
I mean, at Mobile World Congress, we saw
We had that
at least a
Realme
couple
concept.
of the
Yeah.
Realme, and then Xiaomi had their own concept of this as well. This is a little different though. If it's, I don't know.
It can't be.
Because
I don't really
That's
see it. How does it
ridiculous.
attach to it?
yeah, exactly. I don't know that.
no,
it
it's
actually
real.
attaches.
It's real. Oh
Are you
my god, it's
serious?
real. Oh my god, it's real.
Okay,
Jason, I put the link in the doc. Oh my god, it's real.
all right.
For $300, you can buy this kit, and it includes a comically large lens that attaches to the
God.
front of the phone.
Oh my goodness.
Oh
you're
my
right.
god, it's real.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, if you really, really care about still photography, it sounds like this is the phone to get.
So
My
more so than the
goodness.
Xiaomi?
I mean, the Xiaomi is a very, very good phone, but you can get probably more markets.
So this is the Vivo Zeiss 2.35x telephoto converter lens. It's designed exclusively for the X200 Ultra 85 millimeter telephoto lens. Yada yada. What's in the box? One Vivo Zeiss 2.35x telephoto lens. Yeah.
It's
That's
just like such
bananas.
a long, slender lens.
It is so. It
Kind of
is
funny.
That is.
Oh, I
so
see. And so it
weird.
connects to this
Yeah.
little attachment. Sorry, audio listeners.
Yeah. So okay. So there's a
We are-
round adapter that screws onto the camera
housing.
housing of the Vivo X200 on the phone. That then the comically large, which isn't, it's comically long. It's not thick. Oh god,
No,
this is
but-
going down such a wrong thing.
Yeah,
it's not
just
so
be
much. There's
careful.
not so much girth, but there's length, right? Of the lens, of the telephoto lens that screws into the adapter that goes onto the phone, and then you also put on the camera attachment that gives you the shutter button to make it look like a camera. But the thing is that it's comical because the lens is so thin. It
it's-
isn't thick, but it's,
it's just-
long, so
it's
it looks
interesting.
unbalanced.
Yeah, it looks kind of. Ron, you have long been the proponent of the modular phone.
Yes.
And it occurs to me that this is kind of like this is the modular phone for camera enthusiasts right here,
Yes.
because you're carrying around all these pieces just to turn your phone into a camera.
And I
Like an
would be
actual
so
camera.
I would be so worried about dropping these or I mean there's so much that can go wrong with this, and like
Wow,
If
I'm
you're
super curious about this.
if you're going through $300, Jason, I mean like it might be worth just taking a flyer and getting it and playing with it. But
yeah, right.
I mean that's not the cost of the phone. That's just the kit.
That's
but
just
like
the kit,
if you're willing to go through all this, just get a camera. Right?
Because you're
Like
gonna need a case to carry all this stuff around too.
Right, like
Yeah.
at what point are you trying so hard to make your phone
It's kind of a Dex
camera?
problem. it's kind of the Dex for smartphone camera. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, but I really want my smartphone to be a real camera. And I say real, knowing full well that like the cameras that we carry around in our smartphones, they are real cameras. It's just this resembles like an actual componentized large format camera. And so that's what I mean by that.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. I found a Reddit thread from 2 months ago in the Vivo subreddit where somebody said chances of the X200 Ultra getting a proper photography kit, and somebody says it's a phone, mate, not a DSLR.
Yeah, just and Vivo said, hold
Hold my
drink.
camera.
Hold my camera.
Oh, what a world we live in. What a time
Now,
to be alive.
Having said all this, Vivo, if you're out there, I would love to review this phone.
Yeah.
So please reach out to me. Contact at androidfaithful.com.
That's wild. This Vivo, oh my God, it's so funny.
Love it.
Yeah.
This is why sometimes we choose to talk about phones that we will never get in the US, because they do cool, interesting, weird.
And sometimes our internet has
different
issues.
markets.
So
In the US, we get boring phones. Although we might get a rollable. Internet just go totally south.
I I thought it was me for a second.
Oh,
and then,
yeah,
And then
Jason.
you started talking Ron. I was like, oh, okay, it's not me.
Yeah. There you
I'm
go,
just not
Jason.
saying anything anymore.
That's better. Now you're better.
Are you sure? Okay. I don't know where to pick up from, but Samsung has
But
a
we
rollable.
roll into the next segment.
Yeah,
Let's
roll
roll
into the
into it.
rollable.
Let's roll into the next segment. We've got Samsung with its first rollable phone, potentially, if these patents are to be believed, or these blueprints anyways, within the patents. Let's see here. Okay. So a vertical rollable, kind of little squatty device, kind of looks like maybe the same dimensions of like a Rabbit R1, but screen on the front, couple of cameras on the back, and a pretty sizable chin, so not a not symmetrical as far as the bezel is concerned. Of course, probably down here would be if this is actually a real phone, or if it's maybe it's just a blueprint of something that doesn't exist. But you can imagine there being some sort of like gears or motors or whatever that would essentially extend the phone upwards. So you start with like the squatty look. It's like a Z Flip that
Without
rolls instead of flips. So it's
it's without the flip.
Right.
It's a flip without the flip.
right. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the Z Flip size, but going from the small size to the large size is a roll instead of a flip. So there you go. That was hard.
This is not an approach not an approach I would have suspected for the rollable, right? Like when I think of the rollable, I'm always hoping for like a pen that then rolls out of it or something like that. But the idea of a container or a box that it will roll out of is, I guess it's obviously I'm not an electrical engineer and I don't work at Samsung, but it's definitely like an approach that I think is clever, and I want to see it beyond the blueprint or patent filing kind of stage. I'd love to see this actually in practical use. But to see the dimensions that they're going to go in terms of how they can make these devices more compact and then expand, beyond the concept of folding into rolling. I can't wait. Like I would never have thought of this, I guess is my point. So
we'll see. Yeah. It's bound to happen. While I was at Mobile World Congress, they had in the Samsung display booth, they had all of their test. Why am I suddenly blanking on what they actually were? They're kind of experimental concepts. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. They're concepts. I did not see a rollable. I only saw multiple different types of foldables and all that kind of stuff, but did not see any rollables there. So hopefully we see it sometime soon.
Yeah, I think maybe there's just too many like practical issues with rollables that just made companies decide we'll go with a foldable instead. Like,
right.
One issue is, how long does it take to unroll the device? Because you want immediate access to the screen, right? How long do you got to wait for the thing to unroll, and how much can you actually fit in and like have it unroll versus like these big phones where you just have two of them sandwiched together and you just unfold it, right? Like it just seems like foldables are just more practical right now.
Yeah. I mean, like it's cool on the CES floor or the Mobile World Congress floor in terms of prototype thing where you watch it slowly kind of go through. But imagine being in the subway or in the airport terminal and you're waiting for it to to expand, and it's got to be practical in terms of its use, right?
It kind of makes sense for TVs, which is why we do see there are rollable TVs, right? Because you can hide it; it can be completely out of sight when you don't want it to be.
Yeah.
Versus like a foldable TV, imagine like how the heck would you fold and unfold that yourself?
Yeah.
And even if you folded it, it would still be visible somewhere.
Yeah.
So like a rollable makes sense in that in that way. But for a phone, I don't think it really makes as much sense as a foldable right now.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up hardware. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into some apps for your app needs. All right, Mishaal, Gemini's been on a roll. So much.
All right. So, Google last month, they announced at the very end of last month, they announced the rollout of a new feature in Gemini Live, camera and screen sharing, that allows you to share your camera feed or your screen with Gemini Live. Very shortly after, they decided, hey, we're going to roll this out to everyone. So Gemini announced that they are bringing this feature in Gemini Live to all Android users. You don't have to have a Pixel 9 or a Galaxy S25 or Gemini Advanced anymore. If you have an Android phone, you should have access to this new Gemini Live feature, which allows you to share your camera feed or your screen with Gemini. And yeah, I don't know if you've tried it yet. I have briefly tried it. I'm still trying to discover new ways to actually make use of Gemini Live. Like one thing that I did think, okay, this is actually a neat way for me to use it is like I was at a restaurant when I was in Lisbon, and I'm like, there's this menu of like all Portuguese named dishes, and I'm like, what the heck is that? 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 I just opened Gemini Live, and I'm like, okay, go one by one, explain what this is, explain what this is, explain what this is, and then I could just ask it more follow-up questions as it was going. I was using earbuds, so I wasn't like talking.
I was gonna say
super loudly
you have
or
to have your
anything.
volume up,
And of course,
in order
like
for it to
the
work.
whole restaurant was really busy because there was a lot of other tech journalists there and everything. So it kind of made sense. But like also in a hotel room, right, when you have like the menu in a foreign language, right, same thing. You're by yourself and like you don't want to go step by step Google Lens, Google search to search up the food name. You just go in a conversational manner, asking what the heck's that, what the heck is that, what the heck is that, and I think it really works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really want to try this. I'm excited. The idea of the camera plus the conversational mode is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
God, I'm trying to remember. I totally had an organic use of it a few days ago, and I cannot for the life of me remember what I used it for. But I'll have to think about that. Hopefully it comes to me. Because outside of that, it's just been like, well, I guess I'll use it to like talk to me about this synth that I have in my rack mount, just to like test it versus remembering. It's kind of like the assistant problem. It's like remembering that it's there at the right time when it might be useful. And it probably takes a couple of times for you to successfully remember it and for it to prove its value and its worth in that situation for you to then automatically think about it in the future, for those opportunities. And so it's just making that happen.
And this wasn't a specific to Gemini Live, but one thing that I recently discovered Gemini Live, this isn't specific to the camera screen sharing feature, but one thing that I found that Gemini Live is really good at is like if you're playing like a new board game with some friends, right? You usually have like someone who is like on rulebook duty, who's like reading the rules, trying to figure out how the game works. And then whenever you have questions, let me look this up in the book quick. Well, I just gave Gemini Live like the YouTube link from the board game creators or like the PDF that explains the rules and said, okay, here's the context. Anytime we have a question, just answer it for us. And it was really good at that. We would just unpause and pause and unpause whenever you had a question.
Nice.
And like we didn't have to look up anything ourselves. We didn't have to click through the rule books to find anything. We just asked the AI in real time, and it was great.
Cool.
And if you are interested in trying Gemini features like this feature that I just talked about, by the way, it's available to everyone. But if you want to try in the future features that are only available to Gemini Advanced, and you are a college student in the US, you can now get a free subscription to Google One AI Premium, which not only gives you access to Gemini Advanced and Notebook LM Plus, but also gets you 2 terabytes of Google One storage for free. So if you are a college student in the US, all you have to do is go to gemini.com/students and sign up before June 30th, 2025, and you'll get free access all the way through finals in spring of 2026.
That's huge.
That is huge.
That's huge for college students.
Seeing how powerful tools like Notebook LLM are and Gemini are coming up with answers and solving things. Like, I don't know what school life would have been like for me back then or for you guys, right? It's kind of crazy how different it is now.
Yeah.
Compared to what it was back then, where we, there was stuff like when I was going through college, there was like Chegg for like math problems. People use that website.
Chegg.
There was like
I forgot about that.
Dude, you don't want to know what was going on in college for me and Jason, by the way. You don't want to know.
Yeah. in the prehistoric days.
Like
Yes.
everyone was amazed when I wired up several computers for us to play Quake in our dorm. So like that tells
Okay, no,
yeah.
Hey, I'm not that old. I still remember hooking up computers to play Counter-Strike 1.6 in school.
Oh man. Anyway, oh god. All right. Well, moving on. So this update came out of Google a couple weeks ago, and it slipped through our cracks. But you know how when you're out and about and you're living your life, and you notice something's different on your phone, and then you're too busy to actually like acknowledge it, and then you just go about your business, and then you go use it again, and you're like, wait, that looks different, and like a week goes by, and you're like, wait, I think something's different, something changed. So this happened to me when I was on vacation. I often, when I am bored, will just swipe right on my Pixel to the Google Discover page and read the news feed that comes out of that, because it's often pretty handy. I've talked on the show how much I appreciate the algorithm, and it knows me after years and years and years of using it and things like that. And a couple of months ago, we talked about subtle changes Google's been making to this design and things like that. Now, put a pin in that. Have either of you ever looked at a news story? I'm trying to think of an outlet like a USA Today or something like that on your phone, and then when you've swiped right to go back to the source, instead of going to the search results, it gives you like an interstitial page of like links on that website. Like it catches you in between, right, to try to keep you on their site with like more news stories. That's what I thought the new Google Discover design was. And I was like, what the heck? Because the latest design tweak to Google Discover basically made full width images, to the point where I thought something was broken on Google Discover. Like they went from having the nice kind of card image design that fit within the Google design kind of material paradigm to this full width design that honestly looked janky, right? It looked like clickbaity kind of website, kind of trying to keep you on, New York Post style, follow-up stories to keep you on the webpage, to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop using Discover because this redesign resonated so negatively with me. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I was shocked.
Because when I'm looking at it, on this 9 to 5 Google article, it has kind of the old with the kind of rounded corners interface, and then this would be kind of the new, because they both have the bottom navigation. They are pretty much identical, except for the fact that the rounded corners are gone, and and because the rounded corners are gone is what made you think that it was janky and wrong. I just 100%. Find that so interesting. Everything else is pretty much the same, isn't it? I mean,
I didn't even notice I had it until just now.
Yeah,
like it doesn't look bad to me.
It just felt wrong, and I don't know if it was jarring.
What you were expecting.
Yeah, I don't know if it was jarring because it wasn't what I was expecting or whatever it was, but like it just, and it's still, even now, it doesn't feel comfortable, and it's fascinating what the removal of a rounded corner potentially could do to it, because generally full screen width gives you more real estate and more visual stuff, but it also, these changes to Discover, what they've done, have actually given me less content per scroll, right? Because currently right now, when I go to it, I see one article and half of one article underneath it. And when I scroll up, I see two per screen at best, when I used to be able to see 3 or 4, right? And so it's really, they've just been making some really bizarre choices with Discover, and I would love to know why. I'd love to talk to Google to understand what the mindset is behind all this. So
meanwhile, I have talked reasonably negatively about Discover in general in the past, and I have, since you have been so positive on it, I have been giving it more of a chance, and I've turned around on my opinion on it.
Yeah,
I think a lot of really good stuff out of it now.
I do think it's great in terms of the content it serves, but just the interface that it's been serving has been challenging of late. So
it's so interesting how the removal of rounded corners changes your perspective on it. Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
All right, maybe it's just me. So
You just like things the way they were.
yeah, I don't like things to be too jarring. I would maybe make things less. I would make them less because they also I feel like they made the images taller versus the web standard of height of the this kind of standard 1080 by whatever the spec of the height and width, the 16:9 kind of aspect ratio of a card image. They made them taller, right? So I don't think the images it doesn't need to be so image forward, right? A little text is okay, and get me 3 articles versus 2 articles, 3 or 4 articles versus 2 articles would be better, but that's just me. So anyway, all right, moving on.
Well, finally, we've got Google Photos and a new feature rolling out called Ultra HDR. This is an editing feature that allows you to take images that are not in HDR or images from entirely different cameras, whatever, and essentially upgrade them to Ultra HDR format. So you get, the more intense brightness, contrast, color enhancement that HDR capable displays, like for instance, the one on my Pixel 9 Pro, those displays will see that information and, it'll look a lot more vibrant. And I think we've talked about on the show in the past that it's like my eyes are like adapted to what I see on the screen until the moment something comes onto the screen that's Ultra HDR. And then it just looks so much better that everything else looks like dookie. So, it'd be nice when someday in the future, everything is Ultra HDR, but we are definitely not there. This allows you to kind of not up res or upscale, but up HDR, I guess, your photos. And it actually replaces the previous HDR effect tool that you may have found in the photo editor before. So, and those photos are backwards compatible. So, if you apply this and add the HDR kind of information, metadata to the image so that it has that effect, it still works on displays that are non-HDR compliant. It's just, they lose that information. So, yeah.
This is not going to be useful for a lot of modern Android devices because they already capture photos in Ultra HDR by default.
Mm-hmm.
This is only going to be for basically turning your old photos from phones that didn't capture Ultra HDR, making them HDR photos that you can then view on your HDR displays.
Going through your Google Photos library and finding something from far, far away that was shot on like a Sony Mavica in the year 2002.
Yeah, and the difference with the old HDR preset in Google Photos is that the old HDR preset would take a standard dynamic range image and it would use like Google Magic to basically make it look like it's HDR, even though you're looking at it on an SDR display. But what this new Ultra HDR does is it takes that same image, uses that same Google Magic to basically create a gain map that didn't exist because the original camera that took that image didn't have that metadata attached to that image. But Google's saying, okay, we can create this gain map and apply this metadata so that it's like you had taken it on a device that actually supports Ultra HDR capture.
Got it. Yeah. Cool. Excellent. I like HDR. I want more HDR things. Let's go.
Give me all the HDR. I'll take all the HDR you got.
No, you know what I want to do now? I don't know how many photos I have in my Google Photos library. I just want to select them all and go HDR all of these.
See how long that takes.
Not my problem. It's on Google servers. You just do it and get back to me when it's done.
All right. Well, let's go to wrap it up for apps. And now let's hear from you, our lovely listening audience. You guys, many of you have emailed us at contact@androidfaithful.com. We selected a few because it's always good to hear from you. And this first one comes from Jim, who writes in to say, what's that? There we go. Hello, Android Faithful team. I was listening to the most recent episode from April 15th while driving in my car. I was also running Waze on my phone with the phone safely mounted on the dash.
Okay, good.
And you got to the point where you talked about whether or not voice reporting was possible. I decided to test it. So I said, hey, G, report police. And it totally worked.
What?
Waze reported the police. I'll have to try other reports as I'm driving instead of tapping on buttons, which is definitely safer. Thanks for the tip. Love the show, Jim.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now the question is, does that work with Google Maps too, or just Waze?
Interesting.
Definitely gotta try that out next time I'm driving with Android Auto.
Well, how do you report on Google Maps? Like I know that
There's
get
a big button. There's like an incident
there?
button you tap, and then there's like a bunch of different options, and it
Oh.
even syncs with Waze now, or at least Google Maps pulls in incident reports from Waze. now.
The gap between Waze and Google Maps is getting smaller and smaller every day.
Oh, there is a report button.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So. All right.
Guess
All
I
right,
can-
cool.
All right. Our next email, Mishaal, take it away.
Next email comes in from Michael Dumont, who wrote in to say, "Good morning, all. Thanks a lot for the very informative podcast. I hear different stories across the web about the importance of an antivirus program on Android. I'd like to get your take on it. Thanks and keep up the good work.
I believe it's Mishaal.
Mishaal.
Dumont.
Mishaal
Michelle Dumont.
Mishaal.
Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I get that all the time. Dude.
I was gonna say, you've been there, you've done that.
So I thought this was a great question because I also had this question because I do not have an antivirus on my phone.
Okay.
Do, do we need one?
So
What do we think?
here's the
haven't.
thing
I
about
don't think
like
ever.
this really depends on how you understand Android. So Android uses like all the apps and all the processes, all the OS processes and everything are sandboxed. And the only way for app A to talk to app B or to talk to the operating system is through these well-defined APIs that allow them to communicate and send data.
Like
over-
Health Connect.
Health Connect, for example. And in order to use certain APIs, an app needs certain permission to do so. Not every single API requires permissions, but a lot of the sensitive ones, like the ability to read the database that contains your SMS messages, that requires a certain permission. And Android was designed from the ground up around this permission system. So, do you need an antivirus program? Not really, because so long as you read and you understand what apps can do, because the only things that apps can do are if what's contained within the permission list. If an app, for example, does not have the permission to read your SMS database, then it can't read your SMS database. There are exceptions, like there are exploits, for example, if it shared a process with another app that has that permission or it uses an external library, there are exceptions. But as a general rule, you don't really need an antivirus program so long as you are careful about the kind of things you install. It's a little different when it comes to like more like desktop operating systems like Windows, for example, when a lot of apps require administrative access, and once you grant it, you kind of have no idea what they're going to do with that.
Anything
right?
goes,
It's just a
right,
black box.
exactly.
You just give it access, and it has all this access. Versus Android, you're giving it individual permissions one by one, so you kind of should know what an app is capable of based on the permissions that you gave it.
Right.
Now, the thing is, a lot of people aren't aware of what apps can do. They're not aware that certain apps that they're installing might be shady. And so antivirus programs might be good in the sense that they can alert you about potentially shady apps that you're installing. They're not as effective. They're not going to be nearly as effective as they are on like Windows, because a lot of malicious apps on Windows can like embed themselves into low-level files, and they can embed themselves in other applications in like hard to find locations because of how much access programs can get on Windows. On Android, though, the only things a malicious app can do are what you gave it permission to do. So if you want to be extra cautious, there's no harm in installing an antivirus program. Like, it's not going to actively degrade your experience for the most part, right? Like, it's still another thing that's running in the background. Is it's checking what apps you have installed. It's not going to like be like as huge of a benefit as it is on Windows or some other desktop operating system, but there's no harm in it. Right.
Now,
if you want to do it, go ahead.
Now, if you are on an Android device that is not connected to the Google Play Store for some reason, if you're in another region or another country and you're installing apps from unknown, I always look at it like relationships in the real world, right? Like if you're safe and you know you're getting your apps from trusted sources, then you're okay. But if you're getting apps from sketchy sources, you might want to have an added layer of protection between you and those sources, right?
Well,
And
even
so-
then,
yeah.
as long as you approach it from the fact that you're reading the permissions, right? It doesn't
Right.
matter whether you got it from Google Play or some third-party app store. If that app doesn't have permission to read SMS,
it can't do
you
anything.
can be reasonably sure it's not reading your SMS, right?
Right.
That's generally like how I approach security on Android.
Right.
Like, I just
But Google Play Protect is an added layer of security that is they're filtering out. They're doing their best to filter out malicious apps already. But if
Right.
you're on a device that doesn't have Play Protect, you might want to have that extra. You might want to have it just to have that layer of protection if you're using some
Google
other
Play
app
Protect-
store. Right.
Google
Yeah.
Play Protect is already there.
Yeah.
It is the
Yeah.
antivirus program,
Right.
basically. On
Exactly.
Android devices.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Right.
It's the Microsoft Defender of Android,
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
which Microsoft Defender is very good. That's all I use on Windows for my antivirus.
Shaw was the right person to read that email.
Yep. So
Good
we hope that
stuff.
answered your question, Michelle. So
Michelle.
all right,
Michelle.
Jason.
All right. Finally, we've got the email from Sam from Cleveland, who says, in episode 90, you discussed both the new Google smart glasses and the challenges of using HUD while driving. Google or someone should make dedicated AR driving glasses. They could connect by wire into the car for power, thus removing the battery issue with smart glasses, and connect to Google Maps, which already has AR walking directions, to provide AR driving directions projected in the driver's glasses. It'd be helpful to see AR floating arrows above the next street to turn, along with the street name and distance to that turn. The only other function it could display would be upcoming road hazards. The glasses could be transition tinted into sunglasses. You're just going all to town here. I think it wouldn't be as expensive to produce compared to current smart glasses because of its limited and specific set of functions for use inside the car. Or I guess if they can build this into an HUD unit, then I suppose they should. Keep up the great work. I love the show. Thanks, Sam from Cleveland.
I would wear the heck out of those.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
I think
I want a
from
heads
car
up.
makers.
I want a HUD though. I want a car with a heads up display. More than
Yeah, I
anything.
mean, if we're going from a car maker's perspective, it wouldn't make sense to offer this from a glasses because you don't know the eyesight of your drivers, right?
True.
So like offering glasses that you don't know if it's even going to work for every driver doesn't make sense versus just building a HUD where then the driver brings their own eyewear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like the idea though.
But it is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. Does it matter that you're like plugged in? You're wired? I feel like when you're driving, like that
Yeah,
might be a
and
safety
getting
thing.
tangled with wires.
Yeah.
Where's the port going to be? Where are you
Does
going
it
to
plug into the
glasses when you're
steering
done?
wheel? Does it go? Yeah, because I like
Yeah,
the idea
where
of not
does it-
having
There's
to
a
worry
lot
about
of
the
implementation
battery.
challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it had a battery, no way. Especially not in the Texas heat. No way am I putting a battery powered
Yeah.
On your
device
face while
in the
you're
car
driving.
all the time.
Yeah.
That's a
What
good
if it
point.
came down? If it was like from the top, it was like like a visor. You know what I mean? Like Luke, like it's like the targeting computer in the X-wing. You know what I mean?
You turn off your targeting computer. What's wrong?
do. I love that the music, how the music changes subtly when that happens. And I'm sorry, now I'm talking about Star Wars, but yeah. Oh god. All right. Well, if you want to talk about Star Wars, or if you have any other questions about heads-up displays or antiviruses or anything else, you can email us at contact@androidfaithful.com. Always great to hear from you. We did get a ton of great emails the past week. Keep them coming. It's great to hear from everybody else. Everybody in the audience, you're the best.
Indeed.
Cool. All right. So, Jason, what is going on in your world?
Yeah, I guess we've reached the end of this episode. I did a Mishaal thing, and I went ahead and created a Linktree thing because I was like, it's so difficult, telling people all the things that are going on. So I've got control. There we go. I think my computer's been really weird today. There we go. Linktree/Jason Howell. Go there, find all my things. I'm sure I'm missing things. But I'm not going to do much scrolling on this webpage because, like I said, my computer's being weird, and I think when I do that, maybe it impacts my audio. So just go to linktree.com/Jason Howell. There you go. That's it for this week.
All right. And Mishaal, what about your Linktree?
Yes, I also have a link tree, as Jason just mentioned. That's where you can go to find all the links, which I have a lot of, where I post on all the social media platforms like X, Mastodon, Threads, and Telegram. You can also find my contact information there if you want to reach out to me to share a tip or something else. You can also find the links to my Patreon page on my link tree. I post on patreon.com/Rahman, where I offer access to my Discord community, where I share a lot of teasers about upcoming Android features that I'm working on, or that Android features that I'm covering. I'm not working on Android features, despite many people asking me for how do I fix this issue, how do I fix this problem with my phone. No, I don't. I can't help you fix your problem with your phone. But if you have questions about your device and questions about Android features, feel free to reach out to me by subscribing.
Right on.
Excellent.
Cool. And I don't have a link tree or anything to subscribe to, but if you're looking for more,
dude, all the cool kids are.
But if you're looking for more podcasts to listen to, sorry, Jason, I just dropped the link in too late though. But if you're looking for more podcasts to listen to, you should head over to iFanboy, my other podcast with me and my buddies, Josh and Connor. Our monthly Media Explode podcast came out last week, where we wrapped up the Pit Season 1, our favorite TV show of 2025 so far, best TV show of the year. We talked about Season 1 as that wrapped up, and we also had an interview with a actual ER doctor. Our co-host Connor's brother-in-law is actually a physician's assistant, works in an emergency room in New York City, and so he shared the how close the Pit came to reality, and turns out it was actually pretty close. So if you enjoyed the Pit as much as we did, listen to our conversation about it. It was really cool. So yeah, good stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah. And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Android Faithful. We thank you for listening as always. We love doing the show. We love you enjoying it. We live stream this on YouTube and Twitch and maybe on Patreon every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. You can catch all of our podcast episodes as well as articles and things like that over at AndroidFaithful.com. Links to subscribe, links to our social, all the fun stuff. Follow us on Instagram on our new handle at AndroidFaithful. We'll be back next week. When we'll be back next week, the whole gang will be here next week. It'll be worth it. It's going to be a fun time. And until then, we'll see you next time here on Android Faithful.
Yeah, I loaded that Android headlines page, and man, it took my machine down. Crazy.
What kind of PC do you have, Jason?
Didn't
you get a new PC recently?
Yeah, this is well, I have a studio downstairs. I have a Mac studio downstairs. This is This is a 2021 M1 Pro MacBook Pro.
Oh, wow, it took that down?
Yeah, I mean, I have a few other, not many, but I have a few other links open. There was something up with the video on the, like, I could tell these like video elements were loading, and it would just suddenly started going crazy. So there was something weird with Chrome, I think, at that moment, and I just had to cancel it, kill it
dead.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yep.
All right, let's check out.
And I'm BitTorrenting, but that's not the reason.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it every time. All right, let's check out the titles.
Let's see here. af.showbot.tv is where you hopefully went to vote, and I'm waiting. Let's see here. Yeah, I gotta reboot this machine. It's like being real weird right now. Health misconnect. Oh my God, it's real. Long but not thick. Roll into rollables. Is One UI 8 just One UI 7 with bangs? Don't show the show on the show. Quick settings, not so quick. Material Design 3, expressive. Jazz hands. It's an app and a framework. It's complicated. Do rugged Samsung devices wear Wranglers? Okay. Vivo says, hold my camera.
I like that one.
I like that one too. No more toggles on toggles. Unperplexed by perplexity. What's your favorite assistant bot? Patreon stream. Grand opening. Grand closing. A little inside baseball, but I like it. The disconnect with Health Connect. Zoom enhance. The long slender lens. The Dex problem. Hold my camera. Gemini Live polices your board games. Google Discover needs to discover a new design. So here's the thing. Who knows what that was tied to? I like Vivo says hold my camera.
Me too.
That's a good one.
Either that or it's an app and a framework. It's complicated. But I think Vivo says hold my camera. And then you show that picture in the thumb.
Yes, yeah. That was when I saw the picture on the table with all the pieces. I knew immediately. I was like, oh, that's the thumbnail right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
God. You moving away from faces on the thumbnail, or does it not matter anymore? Or?
Yeah. I like you. You've been doing more of the producty stuff, and it's a lot less complicated.
Well, I do the producty. I do the producty stuff just because I'm not as good at the face extraction as you are. So,
and you know, like I don't even know if we were to do any sort of stats or metrics that there would be any difference on our downloads. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't know. That like it's nice to know that who's on, but it's also nice to know that like, oh, they're going to talk about that thing. Okay. So I don't know. Every time I think I've got it all figured out, I realize I actually don't. So
who does?
So now I'm just like, you know what? I'm doing what I want to
do. Fair enough. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody. Good night, Burke.
Good times.
Night.
Hey, Burke.
Yeah, so the Patreon, so the stream just died. I looked over at Patreon. It's like the stream has ended. I'm like, no, it didn't. And then you know how Patreon, it generates the stream keys when you set it up. So there's no way to reconnect it. So I went into the StreamYard and put in the new stream keys, and then went over to Patreon to start a stream. But it never, like, we would have to end this stream and start a new one. I think there's no way to reconnect it.
Oh, so you have to create a new thing in Patreon every time.
Yes.
Oh, that stinks. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought it would just...
for every stream, it generates a new RMTP link and stream key for every stream. Oh, so you schedule the stream, it gives you the RMTP link in the stream, but for whatever happened that killed the stream, then that link and those keys are dead. And so we're not going to stop this stream and then start it back up just for Patreon. Yeah.
No.
So that might not be a viable option. So
certainly not if it dies like that again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, the first time we try it and it dies, although they did just release the feature, so maybe it's.
So I'm gonna email them tomorrow and I'll bring it up and we'll see what they say. So,
if they die, they die.
Yep.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yep.
Oh well.
So, all right, my friends, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Happy to have you here with us, and we'll see you all four of us next week. Big week. Be there. Don't want to miss it. Just saying. See you guys.